Sports.
We are Black Horse. We are MC.
The Royals have been patient with Danny Duffy, and that patience has paid off. After not making the team out of spring training, Duffy had the best ERA among Royals starting pitchers in the first half. He takes the mound in Boston tonight on Fox Sports Kansas City. Royals baseball is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. After a tough one last night, the Royals hope to bounce back tonight in Game 2 against the Boston Red Sox. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the ballpark with Rex Hudler. I'm Ryan Lefevre, and Joel Goldberg will be joining us soon. Last year, the year before that, this would be a game that might concern the Royals. Danny Duffy, who was very wild early in his career, a lot of walks. This would not be a good matchup against the Boston Red Sox and their veteran hitters, but this is a new and different Danny Duffy.
That's right, and the Red Sox will find out. The word's out. Danny Duffy is all of a sudden calm, relaxed, and throwing strikes. He's getting ahead of hitters. That's what's made a big difference. Early Duffy threw hard and high, and they fouled off Tax's pitch count. Now Danny Duffy all of a sudden has found it because he's learning how to pitch. He's learning how to get ahead of guys and throw strikes and finish them off. He's got that nice little breaking ball, solid changeup, but that fastball, anywhere from 90 to 97, is working. He's spotting it, and he is the real deal.
Facing Ruby De La Rosa, who is originally from the Dodgers organization, and he's only made 6 starts this year. He's had 3 very good starts and 3 mediocre starts. And at the top of his list tonight would be to try to figure out what to do with Eric Hosmer, who not only extended his hitting streak to 14 games last night, he did it with 3 hits and 2 RBIs.
Up here on top of the monster in left field and left center field to watch the game. Joel Goldberg on top of the monster at Fenway, and the Royals will have a different center fielder. Now, it was a ceremonial first. $7,000+ last night, and another big one expected here tonight for the second of 3 between the Royals and the Red Sox. And Joel Goldberg back out in left field on top of the monster. These are always great seats, and fans out here tonight, whether it be Royals fans or Red Sox fans, will not see Lorenzo Cain in the lineup. It'll be Gerard Dyson. And Ned Yost saying that it really took a beating on Lorenzo with his body on the turf a week and a half ago in St. Petersburg. Got the needed rest for the All-Star break, but with lefties the next 2 days, he's got to try to find spots to give him time off.
If I could do it the way I wanted it, we'd give him the day off tomorrow, but there's a lefty going tomorrow. So, there's a balance there between him and Dice. You got to just give him days off when they're available. Tonight's available. The next, time we play a day game, we got another lefty going. So I just think you balance it, and that way it keeps both of those guys strong and healthy for the remainder of the year.
Trying to keep him off the disabled list and healthy, and 2 of the best lefties, Lester tomorrow, Sale on Monday. But first, it's righty Ruby De La Rosa throwing the first pitch when we come back.
Chevrolet. Come in and visit the Kansas City area Chevy dealers and make your move to Chevrolet today. By the Missouri Lottery, try the new Lucky Sevens playbook. And by AT&T, mobilizing your world. Another cool night in Boston. It is overcast, and just like in Kansas City, unseasonably cool temperatures for this time of year. Royals trying to bounce back after last night's 5-4 loss in Game 1, and now Ford will show us the Royals batting order, beginning with Jarrod Dyson. And as Joel just explained, while Lorenzo Cain is 0 for his last 20, Ed wanted to give him a day off tonight with tough lefties tomorrow in John Lester, and then on Monday in Chicago, Chris Sale.
Yeah, it makes sense. Billy Butler's down, dropped him down back in the order again. Aoki is not hitting ninth, he's hitting eighth. Escobar in that 9 spot. Whatever it takes, especially the way they were last night, hitting with runners in scoring position, they're going to have to do that to beat this kid De La Rosa.
Ruby De La Rosa. Royals have seen him only once, and that was last year. He pitched as a reliever, and the Royals knocked him around. They got home runs from Billy Butler and Justin Maxwell in just 1 inning.
Yeah, he's 6 foot 185 pounds. He goes 92 to 98 with his fastball. Power fastball. We might see triple digits out of him. Slider, and he's got a real nice changeup. Reminds some of Ventura of the Kansas City Royals. He's got a good, strong arm. Defensively, we're going to see Brock Holt. We're going to highlight him. This guy is a super athlete. He's just making his 3rd career start at shortstop. He's been out in the outfield. We've seen him for the first time in his career in the outfield, but he's played all 7. He's a good athlete, and he's been stirring that offensive drink.
Gary Cedarstrom had a bit of a tight strike zone last night. He is the 3rd base umpire tonight. Crew chief, 21 years in the big leagues. Lance Barksdale behind the plate. Kerwin Danley at first, and Mark Rippinger is at second.
Another notable is Christian Vasquez. He's the catcher you see on your screen right there. Very young catcher in the game. He's a solid defender. Got a pretty good arm. He can catch and throw. Actually, his arm is average, but his transfer from glove to hand is really special. So he'll be able to help De La Rosa in the running game.
Royals came out swinging last night against Clay Buchholz. They got a run in the 1st inning. Let's see what they do against De La Rosa, who almost threw it into the screen for ball 1.
De La Rosa, he's just allowed 3 runs or less in 4 of his 6 starts. He's hitting his spots. He can be difficult. Dyson knows what to do. Try to stay on top of the ball, get on base no matter what. Good bunter. Use that speed.
Missing away again. 3 balls and no strikes.
Didn't like the baseball.
Missing to the same spot with both baseballs, and Dyson's on 4 pitches. De La Rosa is from the Dominican Republic. You probably don't remember exactly how he got to the Red Sox from the Dodgers, so I will refresh your memory. Remember that big blockbuster trade a couple of years ago, and Carl Crawford, Josh Beckett, Adrian Gonzalez. As the Red Sox clean house, they sent all those guys to the Dodgers. De La Rosa was one of the young players coming over from L.A. and one of the centerpieces from the Boston point of view in that trade. And he's having an awful time throwing strikes as he misses to Omar Infante. And when you think about young pitchers from the Dominican Republic, similar to Yordano Ventura, and we'll see him tomorrow, well, you know that he grew up idolizing Pedro Martinez.
First time the Royals have seen him as a starter. They saw him briefly in a little relief stint last season, but so far, just watching him for the first time, he's having a hard time slowing his mechanics down. Jerry Remy told me before the game that he could throw triple digits, but so far I've just seen low 90s from him.
Omar Infante had 3 hits last night. 2 of those doubles. Scored a couple of runs, getting his average up to 282. Infante having a very good July. In fact, if you go back even to a few days before July, hitting .453, our Toyota League leaders. Royals have 2 of the top 5 in the major leagues as far as batting average goes since the end of June. Hosmer, of course, has that 14-game hitting streak. Dyson runs, and the ball is lined to center field. And right at Bradley, Dyson didn't pick it up, and the Red Sox get a double play as Dyson belly flops going back into first base.
Picked it up way too late. If you don't peek back, you got to hear the contact. And the minute you hear that, you got to look up and see where the ball is. And he was already through second base by the time he picked it up. So looked like it was going to be a nice start, but ends up not. That's the 11th outfield assist by Bradley. He's got a really good arm. And Dyson, wow. Looked like he could have dislocated his shoulder. The way his body stuck into the ground at right hand, and he's not used to wearing that sliding pad, and it's the pad that caught, and he couldn't quite get it out in front of him, and it tucked him up under his shoulder. Fortunate to not be hurt.
Strike to Hosmer. Red Sox feel that Jackie Bradley Jr. is one of the best outfielders in the game. That was one of the easier plays he will have as far as catch and throw. It's been a very productive hitting streak for Eric Hosmer, hitting .429 over those 14 games. And there's another base hit to make it 15 games in a row. And that's after a 3-hit, 2 RBI game last night.
Pumping that average up. Coming into that at bat, 272. He's on the rise. Best to get it early. Go on to hit. Got 3 hits last night. Fastball down and in. Hosmer's balance as well. He's hitting it. He's putting his foot down. He's not overstriding. His front of his body's not coming forward. He's hot. He has the potential, Eric Hosmer, to be a great young hitter. I said in the pregame show that he is a great young hitter. Not quite yet. I got a little excited. He's the hottest hitter in baseball right now.
He's been a great young hitter in his last 15 games.
He has.
Oh, and 2.
Fans, just a reminder as you enjoy a cold one to look forward to Miller Time. Later in today's game, brought to you by Miller Lite.
Sal had a 2-hit game last night, also drove in a run. So he has 8 RBIs over his last 7 games. Tied up. And De La Rosa gets it over to Napoli, and that's the inning. So the double play was big after the leadoff walk, and De La Rosa has a scoreless first. Red Sox will face Danny Duffy when we come back. if the Royals can give him some run support, he's in good shape with an ERA well under 3.
He's been really maturing this year as we've watched him. Ever since that little relief stint he had in Houston early in the season, he's gotten it all together. He's not overpowering. He's not trying to blow it by anybody anymore as he did in his earlier years, and he's been very successful with that change in speeds off of his fastball.
John Farrell, manager of the Boston Red Sox, his team is tied for last place, but they have won 5 of their last 6 and averaging almost 6 runs per game over that stretch. And for the first time in a while, Boston Red Sox are not last in the league in runs scored, and they get Shane Victorino back tonight. Brock Holt, who started in the outfield last night, starts at short. And ball 1 from Danny Duffy.
Duffy will go anywhere from 90 to 97 with that fastball. He's got a slurvy breaking ball. He tries to get over against righties and lefties. Changeups, mainly to righties. He'll need it. Righties have done the most damage as far as home runs go. 7 has given up with a .222 average. Lefties, not so good. I mean, they're just hitting 143. Matter of fact, they're just 8 for 56 off of Duffy. He's done a nice job of controlling the lefties.
2-1 on Brock Holt. John Farrell, different from some managers in that he hasn't shied away from putting left-hand batters in there against Duffy. You know he's going to have David Ortiz in there. But he also has Holt and Jackie Bradley Jr. Before tonight, Danny had faced a total of 4 left-hand batters in his last 4 starts.
Yeah, managers are stacking the right-handers in there on him. Holt's done a pretty good job, though. He's hitting 340 off of lefties this year. This kid, he's just shocking the whole American League. See those numbers against lefties this year. Duffy uses that breaking ball away from him. Might just challenge him here, though, 3-2.
And he does, and it's fouled away. Those numbers against lefties, that's 8 out of 56. 7 singles, only 1 extra base hit for lefties all year against Danny Duffy.
He's been able to slow the game down. That's one of the big keys for Danny Duffy. He's a very high-strung individual, but he's doing a great job of containing it here in his last several starts. He's been awesome. As a matter of fact, he hasn't walked a batter in his last 2 outings.
Well hit to right field, but right at Nori Aoki. So Holt, he hung in there. An 8-pitch at bat, and he lines out to right field.
Hosmer is very steady. Ned Yost plays him no matter what because of his glove mainly. His bat's starting to come, no doubt about it. But he won the gold last year for the first time, and I'm sure by the time his career is over, he'll have many. At 6'4", long arms and legs, he's a tremendous target for guys in the infield, especially on the left side. They love throwing to him. And Ned, he says, you know what, whether he's going good or bad offensively, I'm going to play him at first every game.
Pedroia was mostly quiet last night, just 1 for 4. And a fastball thrown right by him. 1 ball, 1 strike. And that's notable because that .355 batting average against the Royals, that is the most for any player in history with more than 100 at-bats. And Duffy's ahead. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Duffy's burying that fastball down in the zone. That's been another key for Duffy. Keep his pitch count down. He's not throwing elevation. He's not bringing it up in the zone as much as he used to. He's using his defense. Pedroia's a battler.
2-2.
Red Sox not doing too shabby against left-handed starters this year. Lefties, they're hitting .251 as a team, and their record is 16-17 against left-handed starters this season.
Into right center field. Dyson is there. 2 fly ball outs for Duffy. Don't forget to tweet your photo using #KCFanPhoto for a chance to have it shown during tonight's game broadcast. Brought to you by AT&T. That masked man is Steve Carell. That's Steve Carell?
It is.
And his wife, Nancy Walls. Moustakas with the shift throws out Ortiz. So a 5-3 out. And for Duffy, 3 up, 3 down in the bottom of the first. Here's a better angle. Okay, now I believe it.
Glad they're here.
Break. Al Zeke was the equipment manager for the Royals for 21 years, from day one of the franchise through all of the playoff seasons. He passed away on Monday, and his funeral was today. And for obvious reasons, fans don't hear much about the equipment manager. Some of the best Royals of all time will tell you he was also a father figure and a friend. And truly, from Fenway Park, our thoughts and prayers are with his family and his many friends. Ruby De La Rosa was able to work around a walk and a single in the first inning. Pedroia into a slide and takes a hit away from Alex and gets out number 1.
Being built low to the ground is really an advantage for any infielder. He's able to maneuver, spin, fire, throw. Watch his footwork here. Did a little reverse spin, got his momentum going towards first base. Patted his glove a couple of times, got his feet underneath him. He's as solid a second baseman as you'll find, especially offensively. The two go together, and he's a world champion 3 times.
And that will go over second base and into center field. That's Philly's second hit of the series. So 1 on, 1 out. And let's take a look at tonight's Sprint Framley question of the night. Who recorded the longest hitting streak by a Royals first baseman? Eric Hosmer is now at 15 games. Is it George Brett, Raul Ibanez, Wally Joyner, or Mike Sweeney?
I said Pedroia was a 3-time world champion. He was not on the 014. Gave him one more World Series than he had. I'm going to say Sweeney.
And 2 on Moustakas. He was hitless last night, and he is one of 4 Royals in the order tonight who have seen De La Rosa, but nobody has more than 1 at bat. A lot of fastballs in on Moustakas last night with Clay Buchholz on the mound. And I think De La Rosa, he missed with that pitch, but he was trying to come inside with that 0-2 delivery.
And if you don't have any success as a hitter on those pitches, they'll stay in there until you hit one. You get him out of that kitchen is what hitters say. Get him out of there, they're going to keep coming in there.
.93 and high. 1 ball, 2 strikes. In on his knuckles, and Bogarts makes the play. 2 down.
Going to keep seeing those fastballs. De La Rosa, he's firm, and we haven't seen his slider or his changeup yet. He's throwing mainly fastballs.
I mentioned in the first inning that De La Rosa, like every young right-handed pitcher from the Dominican Republic, at some point, I'm sure, idolized and wanted to be like Pedro Martinez. De La Rosa had a personal connection to Pedro Martinez. His grandmother used to be his nanny.
How cool is that?
And so we haven't seen a real good one yet, but De La Rosa has an excellent changeup, which he learned from Pedro Martinez, who had one of the best in the game when he was pitching. And like Pedro Martinez, De La Rosa will throw that pitch at any time in the count. No real pattern.
Lots of times, though, pitchers that have a good fastball, and he looks pretty sneaky now. He didn't have the velocity yet that they said he did. But, you know, you're going to go after guys until they can hit your fastball. You're going to stay with that pitch. Why show them the other secondary pitches when you don't have to? And I hope he's going to see the same diet of fastballs that Moose is seeing. Hosmer, Gordon, everybody.
Three and 0. Norrie 1 for 4 last night with a stolen base and a run scored as the number 9 hitter, and it was the first time in his major league career he had ever hit 9th. In fact, hit anywhere other but first or second. And Ned Yost has him batting 8th tonight, and Escobar back to the number 9 spot.
It's a guy you either want in the top or at the bottom. He can shorten up your swing, do little things, bunt, hit the ball around on the ground. He's an action type hitter. But the league is trying to challenge him inside and making him become a drive the ball type of hitter. He's trying to make that adjustment.
And Norrie takes a walk, and that's De La Rosa's second. hard to believe looking at him now because he is put together. When De La Rosa signed with the Dodgers, he was 130 pounds. Does that look like a guy that was ever 130 pounds? He is now listed at 205, so he's really filled out.
Kind of like Yordano Ventura.
Escobar was 0 for 4 last night. So a connection there with Ventura and De La Rosa, both from the Dominican Republic, and both teams doing some good projection scouting and signing them, seeing what they could be, what they will look like when they fill out. 1-1.
The young battery mates here, no question about it. Christian Vasquez, the catcher, 23 years young, rookie. Coming into this season, never had played in the big leagues before. I like to rave about his defense. He's got quick feet. Nice transfer from glove to hand. We'll see if in the course of this game the Royals base runners challenge him.
Victorino makes a play in right field. So Royals again get a couple of base runners, but fail to score against De La Rosa.
October 30th, Koji Uehara closing it out. It was celebration time in Beantown as they won their 3rd World Series in 10 seasons. And one of the more memorable images came from Johnny Gomes wearing that military helmet there. And maybe this shouldn't be a surprise because he has always had a fondness for the military and for his country. And we'll show you a picture in a moment with him when they visited the White Sox as he's on deck. But this is a guy, or the White House, but this is a guy that told me that he almost enlisted in the military. He didn't think he was going to be drafted out of junior college, no scholarship offers, and so he was going to go the military route. And he has always loved his country. Said he's got tattoos, well, he's got tattoos everywhere, on his leg that feature, among other things, the Statue of Liberty, the Golden Gate Bridge, trying to represent all of America here, a bald eagle, 2 World War II planes. That's all on one leg, by the way, guys. So when he went to the White House, he decided that he wanted to go, and he said he wasn't trying to make a social statement, and he actually checked before wearing this coat, because he didn't want to do anything offensive, with some higher-ups in the military that he knew, and said, can I do this? And they said, absolutely. He wore that coat to the White House, and I said, how did the president receive that? He said he loved it so much that he wanted one, and so Gomes got a second one, had it autographed, sent back to the White House, and apparently that thing is hanging now somewhere in the White House. But this is a guy definitely unique and different. And I think, Rhino, you probably read some of these stories on him before, and I said, are all the stories I've read about you true? And he said, no, none of them are fabricated. This is a guy that almost got eaten by a wolf as a kid. I'm not joking there. There was a wolf at his house.
Really?
And he wanted to be like the wolf whisperer. He was a kid. Almost got eaten. Almost died in a sleeping bag that was on fire. He was in a near fatal car accident at one point. Had a near heart attack. I said, those things are all really true. And he said, I can give a cat a run for its money when it comes to 9 lives.
Tremendous reporting, Joel. I'd heard a few of those, but I'd never seen him with the jacket. That was classy. And the fact that he got permission. He didn't want to offend anyone.
Well, you know, in his very humble beginnings, too. There was a time when he was living with his brother and his mother. They lived in a car, a homeless shelter, and with friends. And so somebody who has come from that beginning and truly appreciates what he has now. It doesn't seem the fame and the money and just really hasn't seemed to change him.
And you mentioned those humble beginnings. And so in many ways it's not a surprise that he is one of the most charitable guys in all of baseball, with homeless shelters and food banks like you mentioned, with the military and families that have lost others, and on and on and on too. He is extremely involved in all of those endeavors with the military. The Boston Marathon bombings last year, he was in the middle of that Boston Strong and really trying to pick people up. So a guy that is a little unique looking with that jacket or without that jacket is one of the better guys in the league, although the Royals would like to keep him in the park here.
An easy guy to root for, and let's hope that Danny strikes him out right here.
Thanks, Joe. Well, that's quite an introduction to him for this first time up tonight. Lefties, that's what he does. He's a right-handed hitting specialist against the lefties. And that was Duffy's first walk now in 2 starts. This beginning his 3rd.
He had gone 14 consecutive innings without a walk. Ball 1-2 Gomes. And we should point out that the hitter that he walked is known for walks. There are many pitchers who walk Mike Napoli, and Duffy took the count to 3-2. There were also 3 foul balls. I think that last pitch from Duffy popped something in Salvador Perez's glove, and Brett Hayes throws him his backup glove, and then someone will begin repairing it. Royals head trainer Nick Kenny will work on fixing his glove.
Pinch hitting. This young man here has got 6 pinch hit home runs. That was number 6 last night as a Red Sox. He had tremendous short to the ball, the power. What amazed me was he has no follow through. He just sticks the ball and holds his follow through. It's like he's got a golf club in his hand. And he's trying to short iron to the green.
And that's a fair ball, and it hit the wall. Napoli's going to try for 3rd, and he is out. So a break for the Royals as it hit that angled side wall. And Napoli records the dreaded first out at 3rd base.
Escobar did a nice job of getting over there. Alex Gordon typically takes those balls, but Escobar knew by the carom off the wall that he was going to have a shot. He got to it. Napoli already left second base and realized that he was a dead Red Sox.
Loud ovation for Shane Victorino as he is back from the disabled list. He's had a lot of problems physically this year. Twice officially on the disabled list with a strained right hamstring. But while he was out, he's developed some back troubles. He has a slipped disc in his back. And his most recent stay was his 8th time on the disabled list in his career.
He's got a lot of mileage on him. He's been an everyday player for now his 9th season in the majors. 2-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove winner. And he's a world champion twice. He's had a great career. And he's hit .320 off a lefty so far this season.
And in his first at bat, he singles to center field. That play at third is even bigger now as Napoli has walked, Gomes singled, and Victorino has singled.
Duffy again keeping the ball down, but if it's out over the middle of the plate, veteran hitters and young guys are going to take a little short swing at it and try to find a hole just like he did. Guided it right through there. Red Sox has a team hitting .241 with runners in scoring position. Bogarts hitting just .128 with runners out there.
Well, we showed you the Johnny Gomes home run, and that put the Red Sox in front for good. But what set up that home run was Bogarts' home run against Shields in the 6th inning. Red Sox had done little to nothing against Shields in the first 5 innings, and the Royals led 4-1. Looked like the Royals were going to cruise to victory last night. Bogarts' home run gave the Red Sox some life, and then the Gomes home run gave them the lead. Shields had allowed just an unearned run in his first 5 innings, and then charged with 3 in the 6th.
It's always a teaching moment in the game of baseball. Mentoring. Shields passing it on from a veteran player to a rookie young player. There's always humor involved, but the next day starting pitcher charting the game like Ventura is.
Fastball by him and a 3-pitch strikeout, and that's Danny's first. And now Danny gets a left-hand batter in Jackie Bradley Jr.
Just going to power that ball right by him. Kept it on the outside part of the plate, couldn't reach it.
Fastball at 95 in for a strike. It was Jackie Bradley Jr. who was sent back to the bench in favor of Johnny Gomes, who hit the home run against Scott Downs to put the Red Sox in front. And Ned Yost, he took all of the blame last night for making that move, and right or wrong, and we'll just go with his words, it was the wrong move to make. It was interesting to some degree in how Ned thinks about pinch hitting in the 6th inning or before. You don't want to lose your best defenders, and he was convinced that John Farrell did not want to lose his best defender in a close game for the last 3 innings. So that's the so-called gamble that Ned was talking about. In a quirky outfield, here's one of the league's best, according to the Red Sox, Jackie Bradley Jr. Ned Yost felt like John Farrell would not take one of his best defenders out of the game in the 6th inning.
Especially in a close game.
Duffy, back-to-back strikeouts after the Red Sox greet him with a walk and 2 singles. No score at the end of 2 at Fenway. Power. 7 games, 4 with the Indians, 3 with the Twins, and during that homestand we'll have Faith and Family Night presented by Hobby Lobby. That's a week from tonight. The Indians are in town. The event will feature post-game appearances from select Royals players, as well as testimony from Scott Dawson of Safe at Home and performances from contemporary Christian musicians KJ 52 and Matthew West. And your ticket to the game includes admission to the post-game program.
It's always a very inspirational evening after the game, and it's well attended. Last few I've seen here in other ballparks, it's very popular. Folks, come on out. You'll be encouraged.
0-2 on Dyson. He didn't see a single strike when he batted in the first inning, and De La Rosa walked him on 4 straight. And then he didn't pick up the line drive to center field, hit by Omar Infante, and was doubled up very easily as he was running on the pitch to Infante.
You could see the dirt on his chest all the way up to his shoulder as he had a misslide going back to first base. Almost hurt himself. Typically, dirt is going to be on your chest, right where the letters are.
There will be no instructional videos that will include the slide by Dyson back into first base.
Not at all. And I think a lot of it had to do with the sliding pad that he's just not wearing. He wasn't sure. He didn't get it extended. See it caught up underneath him, kissed the dirt a little bit, and went into first base awkwardly. And that bag, that's put more guys on the disabled list than I care to mention. So he's extremely fortunate. That's how it happens. That easy.
Right center field, and Bradley won't get there. That's going to roll to the deepest part of the ballpark, and that's an easy triple for Dyson. He'll even round third base. That's the right part of the ballpark for Dyson's style of play.
4th triple of the year. It was a breaking ball that he went down and got. He just laid the bat on it. It happened to catch the barrel, and it was at a perfect spot in this ballpark. Now, if they had taken any time on the relay throw, Dyson, he might have had it inside the Parker. But with nobody out, they'll take it. Infield staying back, opportunity to get that run home a little bit easier. Ground balls up the middle will be fine. You want to keep it away from the corners as both guys are in. Think middle of the field. Infante knows that.
First pitch swinging.
He's got a good arm.
Close and safe. Dyson made it close by not sliding, and that gave Vasquez a much bigger target.
Bradley coming in, I knew it was going to be close because he can really throw. That's one of his specialties as an outfielder. And if the ball is just off the mark, and Dyson, had he slid, it wouldn't have been close. But the fact that he went in standing up, it almost appeared, but Lance Barksdale did a nice job. He saw it all the way. Infante knew what to do. Stay in the middle. And the right guy was on third base with that speed. Got him a sac fly.
1-0 Royals. Omar Infante drives in another run. That's his 47th. And that leads the Royals. And that's well hit, but right to Bogarts at third base. 2 down. Hosmer had extended his hitting streak to 15 games back in the first inning with a single. So not only does Infante lead the Royals in RBIs, but there are only 2 second basemen in baseball who have more RBIs than Omar Infante. And those are typically big RBI guys, Robinson Cano and Ian Kinsler. And he's in front of Chase Utley.
That's right. And those are some big names. So really what you do is you go back and you congratulate the Royals for making a move like that to shore up second base that hasn't been shored up in several years. And they got him a guy.
1-1 on Sal. He grounded back to De La Rosa in the first inning. Buckled in with a breaking ball. 1-2.
Those are the ones you make mental notes of that start at you like that. Salvi flinched back just a tad, thinking, well, okay, well, it caught the inside part of the plate. The next time you pick up that rotation and it comes at you, you stay on it and you try to drive that ball, pull it. See if he can make an adjustment later on when he sees one like that.
Bogarts calls for it. Holt calls him off and makes the play. Dyson gets it started with a triple. Infante gets him home with a sacrifice fly, and the Royals lead 1-0.
Two in a doubleheader, and this one earlier today. And the folks in Cleveland might call this Swishalicious. I'm not sure that those in Detroit would agree. Nick Swisher knocks in a run, and it was all Cleveland in this one. Corey Kluber, stop me if this sounds familiar, 10 strikeouts over 8 2/3. So he is very good against a lot of opponents, and the Indians with that win move ahead of the Royals a half a game. And the Tigers and Indians are playing right now in the nightcap. It is early in that one. Tigers with the bases loaded in the second inning, so we'll keep you up to date on that action.
So it's kind of good news, bad news with the Indians winning. Good news is the first place team lost. The bad news is the Indians passed the Royals in the standings. Thank you, Joel. Christian Vasquez, rookie catcher, off to a good start at the plate. He is 5 out of 11 and 5 RBIs in those 11 at-bats. The original plan, we hear, was to keep Vasquez in the minor leagues longer, and that's why the Red Sox signed A.J. Pierzynski to a 1-year deal. Give him more seasoning in the minor leagues, but Pierzynski wasn't producing. Vasquez was, and the Red Sox said, let's bring him up. 3-0.
He's 0 for 3 against lefties, though, so far. Duffy had to take a little walk behind the mound, regroup. They like his bat. Scouts say that his bat will probably never catch up to his defense, though. He's an excellent defender. They're hoping that he can develop some power later, but that's what they try to do when a young guy comes in. They try to project his future.
And that's Danny's second walk. Both have been leadoff walks, and he worked around that in the second inning. And now Vasquez is on for the top of the order. Also coming up during the next homestand, another Gordo Nation. You'll get this limited edition Gordo Nation t-shirt and a seat near Alex in his left field cheering section for $35. And that's coming up this upcoming Thursday with the Indians in town. That's the first game of the homestand. Royals.com/Gordo Nation for tickets.
One of his buddies was photo bombing him in the background with that Alex Gordon head blowing a bubble. Alex didn't plan that. Photo bombing is pretty popular with all the cell phones that people have in their phones.
When Brock Holt was hitting in the first inning, we were reminding you of how tough Danny Duffy has been on left-hand batters this year, and he hung in there, took the count to 3-2, had a couple of good swings and fouled 2 pitches off, and then eventually lined out to right field. And now he's ahead in the count, 3 balls and 1 strike. So Danny has dominated lefties, but that happens to be a strength of Brock Holt, hitting against lefties. Also hit well against righties.
This guy's quickly becoming a fan favorite. There's a step off move. Holt saw 8 Duffy pitches in his first at bat. You see this many pitches in your first 2 ABs, you're locked in.
Slide step, and Holt grounds it to Escobar. Royals get a double play, so second time in the last 2 innings. Royals have covered a leadoff walk, and who knows, maybe that slide step was just enough to catch Holt off guard.
It was, and that's going to upset the hitter's timing some, and the reason they do that is to try to cut down the time to get that ball to the catcher in case the guy's running. But it can affect the timing of the hitter as well. But hit it firmly, 2-hopper right to Escobar. Right to the good hands people. Duffy will take that. Lower he can keep that pitch count down, better off he'll be in the later innings.
Just another sign of his maturity. Last 2 innings. Leadoff walk. Doesn't let the inning get away from him. Doesn't let his emotions get away from him. 1-1 on Pedroia, and the presence of mind to even go to that slide step, to think about, you know what, this guy hits well against lefties. He had some good swings against me last time. Don't want to walk him, so I'll probably throw him a fastball. Well, what can I do to disrupt his timing? Slide step, ground ball, double play.
Perfect. It's his body language. Good spot on the changeup. Forget about the swing. Where was the pitch? It looked good. His body language is good. He didn't walk a batter in the last 2 games. He's got 2 already. And watching him after those walks, there was no yelling in his glove. There was no visual signs of anger.
Pedroia didn't quite get his arms extended. So leadoff walk, double play, fly ball. Danny faces only 3. And 3 scoreless innings in Boston. The Royals lead 1-0. Tonight, and we have Mother's Sunday coming up at Kauffman Stadium a week from tomorrow. And as part of this special ticket package, you'll receive a limited edition Royals cap and a commemorative frame photo. And you can only receive these items if you purchase the Mother's Son ticket package, and you can do that at royals.com/family, which is only fair because we've already had Father-Daughter Day at the ballpark. And it applies to tonight. We've told the story many times. Danny Duffy, and both of his parents influenced him in the game of baseball, but he'll tell you it was his mom, Deanna, who played baseball in men's leagues and used to throw him batting practice and was his catcher in the backyard. So who knows, maybe Deanna will be at the ballpark for Mother's Son game. Mother's Sunday at Kauffman Stadium.
Yeah, I think the story's great. And it got to the point where she just couldn't catch him anymore. He threw too hard. It's going to hurt her.
Alex grounded sharply up the middle in the 2nd inning, and Pedroia ripped him off with a sliding play. Well, Alex ahead in the count, 3 balls and 1 strike. 2 hits and an RBI for Alex last night.
I like the base hit to left field he got. That's going to keep him going. And we saw him earlier when he went on a nice streak up in Toronto. Got a couple of base hits to left field, and he went on a tear for a couple of weeks after that. Really picked up his average. Good change up there.
It's the best one we've seen.
Starting to bring it in now. 2nd time around.
2 walks, no strikeouts for De La Rosa. The Royals got their run last inning on a Omar Infante sacrifice fly. And now Alex is on with De La Rosa's 3rd walk.
Did you hear Lance Barksdale? He was yelling at that ball boy. Let it go, don't touch it. Ball's in play. We saw the ball girl down the right field line last night take a ball. It was a fair ball. and she's not there tonight.
Let it go.
It's a live ball. It rolled right to the ball boy, who's taking a knee to the right of home plate with a bag of balls right next to him. Vasquez, good throw to first, but Alex saw it coming and got the right hand back in time.
There's the quick hands and transfer that they talk about with Vasquez. Alex was on it. Ooh, if he swipes that hand, he might have got him. Like he tagged him on the shoulder.
One and one on Billy, who is 1 for 1 tonight with a single to center field. He homered against De La Rosa when the Royals faced him last year. It was just 1 inning. De La Rosa coming out of the bullpen and gave up home runs to both Billy Butler and Justin Maxwell. Right to Holt. And now the Red Sox turn a double play after the Royals did the same thing last inning. And that's the second double play for Boston tonight.
The 14th time Billy's rounded into a double play this year. Surprisingly, that does not lead the team. Salvador Perez does with 15 ground into double plays.
Brock Holt, who seems to be everywhere, and Johnny Gomes, and it's dropped. So who gets the air? Moustakas ends up at second base.
I can hear Gomes calling it from up here in the booth. So Brock Holt and infielders, when you go out on a ball, you don't call it. You listen for the sound of the guy calling it.
Both calling for it at the same time.
See, Brock Holt, he's got to know better. You don't call it as an infielder. Now he's an infielder and he's playing outfield now, but you just listen. You go back and you make a visual sign. You listen for the outfielder. If you don't hear anything, you take it. The outfielder makes the voice, the one sound, and then you peel off because he has priority over you.
Well, it looked like he was doing both. It looked like at one point he was waving off with his arms. But you're saying to avoid what happened, both guys yelling, I've got it at the same time, that in a play like that, the infielder should say nothing.
Absolutely. Every time. You're trained that way as an infielder. You go out, you find the ball, and you camp. And if you're camped and you know it, you make an outward sign to the outfielder. Okay, so he's got his hand, but Gomes isn't seeing that. He's calling it. They're both calling it. Gomes, I heard somebody's voice. It ended up being Brock Holt's voice that was louder. Gomes has to make it clear and loud that he's got it. I mean, you scream at the top of your lungs, especially in big league ballparks. You learn that to stay away from problems like that. Now, hopefully, the Royals can take advantage of that.
Two and one on Nori. He was on with a walk in the second inning.
And to Moose's credit, he's not at first base. Now, the ball kicked away far enough to allow him to get in there, but he ran the ball out. That's why you run the ball out all the time. You never can assume anything in this game.
Yeah, maybe 49 out of 50 times they catch that ball, but that one time it looks bad when you're standing at first base.
Got that right.
2-2 on Nori.
De La Rosa, he coming in on Nori, and we've been seeing more pitchers come inside on Nori. Now we're well past the halfway point, and the rest of the league is figuring Aoki out.
Got the call. Changeup. Right over the outside corner, so De La Rosa picks up his defense after the 2-out error. Baseball is brought to you by Panera, coming soon to College and King in Overland Park. And by your Midwest Ford dealer. Visit your MidwestFordDealers.com. Beautiful night in Boston. And a 1-0 lead for the Royals as Danny Duffy pitches in the bottom of the 4th inning. Temperatures in the upper 60s, low 70s the first 2 games the Royals have been here. Day game tomorrow, 12:35 Kansas City time. Giordano Ventura against John Lester. David Ortiz, Mike Napoli, Johnny Gomes in the bottom of the 4th. Inside for ball 1.
Big Poppy, he hits everybody. Lefties, he's hitting .282 with 7 homers out of his 20. He's a polished big league professional at 38 years old, 3-time world champion, megastar.
Got underneath it. I think he got the pitch that he wanted. And Dyson brings it down. Ortiz is 0 for 2.
Got a little flamingo leg kick. Gets down. He's not real happy. Rats. It's a good pitch. Duffy has enough on his fastball. He can get by with pitching up in the zone like that.
Mike Napoli walked in the 2nd inning. It was his 53rd walk of the year, tying him with David Ortiz for the team lead. And then he tried to go 1st to 3rd on a single to left field. Royals with some good fortune. A ball hit by Johnny Gomes that in just about every other ballpark goes down the line and all the way down into the corner, but not here. And Napoli was out trying to go to 3rd. And a floater into center field, and Napoli has his first hit, and the Red Sox have a man on with 1 out. The Royals and Fox Sports Kansas City are offering a unique way for fans across the Midwest to enjoy a game at Kauffman Stadium.
It's the B Royal Fan Express. Fans in designated markets will have the opportunity to win a trip to Kauffman Stadium, and the next stop is Springfield, Saturday, July 26th. Go to Royals.com/Fan Express for more information. Ball 1 to Gomes. When he was hitting in the second inning, I was looking it up, his home run against the Royals last night was the 14th of his career against KC. David Ortiz has hit 19 home runs in his career against the Royals, so just a 5 home run difference. But here's the story. David Ortiz has 19 home runs in 409 at-bats against the Royals. Gomes has 14 home runs in 95 at-bats against the Royals.
He's got an open stance, inviting that pitch to come in. Short, compact, powerful swing. We saw it last night. He likes to go over the left field wall here, but he went dead center, about 2 rows back. Clutch pinch hit homer.
Three and one.
A couple years ago, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I don't know if it was a couple years. It must have been last year, because it said Boston Strong on it, and it's had him standing at second base with his arms up, giving a crab pose like, you know, he's Popeye, a strong guy. And he showed that to me last season. Said he was most proud of that picture for the city of Boston. And Duffy loses another one, his 3rd walk.
And close pitches. I mean, Danny is not all over the place. He had gone 13 innings before tonight without a walk, and then did not allow a walk in the first inning, and now he has 3 over the last 3 innings. So part of it is him not throwing strikes, but maybe a bigger part of it is this is the Boston Red Sox. This is what they do. They have the 2nd most walks in the league, and some of the walks Duffy has given up have been on pitches that have just missed. Victorino takes a strike. He's singled to center in the 2nd inning.
You're right. And Ryan, you mentioned it in our open of the show tonight about how, you know, in years past, this would not have been a good matchup, Duffy versus the Red Sox, because he threw so hard and he was a little bit wild. But you're right. Those pitches have not missed by much. He got him to go on that one. In last inning, he induced the 93rd double play to the Red Sox, and that by far leads the league. Maybe he can do it again.
Napoli at second base, Gomes at first, so there is not good speed for Boston. Victorino fouls it away, still 0-2. Victorino is still listed as a switch hitter, but he has not batted left-handed. Obviously, he wouldn't here against Duffy. He hasn't batted left-handed since August of last season. Went through the playoffs and the World Series hitting exclusively right-handed.
It's got to be a comfort issue. You don't see too many switch hitters do that. I've seen a few in my playing days, guys that switch hit but changed right in the middle of their career. Just weren't seeing the ball well, weren't having any productive at bats. JT Snow was one to come to mind. He was a switch hitter, and then he went on and played another 5 or 6 years with the Giants and hit exclusively left-handed. Stayed away from the right side.
And Escobar has it go through his legs. May have been screened by the runner, but that would have been an easy double play. Instead, the Red Sox tie the game.
Haven't seen that all year. Tough time for that to happen. That would have got him out of the inning. And you're right, Rhino. Sometimes that runner will get in the vision of a ball, especially if it's struck that hard. And certainly not to make any excuses for Escobar, but now that's his second error in 2 games.
So that could have ended the inning. Instead, the Red Sox tie it, and now Bogaerts, he struck out swinging at a fastball in the second inning. One and one. And on his hands, Alex makes the play. Gomes bluffs a tag, but that was a short throw for Alex from a shallow left field. 2 down. Bogaerts is 0 for 2. And now Jackie Bradley Jr., and he struck out swinging at a fastball in the second inning. And now Aoki into right center field. So left-hand batters are 0 for 6 against Duffy tonight. The error was big. Napoli scores after the Escobar error, and the Red Sox tie the game at 1. stop smoking. And for more information, call the Quit line at 1-800-QUIT-NOW. 1-1 tie. Royals scored in the third on Infante's sac fly. And Alcides Escobar is a motivated man as he leads off the fifth. The Red Sox got their run on his fielding error in the bottom of the fourth inning, which could have been an inning-ending double play.
He got screened by the runner. I'll make the excuse for him. That's not easy. He couldn't tell how hard the ball was hit. You can tell initially on contact, but when that runner comes in front of you like that, and that ball's moving at a high rate of speed, it's not easy. Like I said, I haven't seen him let a ball go between his legs this year, and I can't remember of any last year either. He's got great hands.
And now ahead in the count, 2-0. Escobar flied out to right field in the second inning. Dyson next, and then Infante. 2-1. Three balls and one strike. De La Rosa has walked 3. None of those walks have turned into runs. Danny Duffy has walked 3, and none of his have turned into runs. Changeup on 3-1, full count.
Nice selection. 3-1, hitters looking fastball all the way. Good location. Got to look fastball. He might throw it again. Yep, he's out front. He did. He went back-to-back changeups on him.
Bradley makes the play. One down in the fifth inning. Starters comparison brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. And many comparisons. Both guys can pile up the strikeouts. Low strikeout totals so far. You mentioned the high walks, which have been harmless aside from pitch count. Both have allowed only 3 hits. Dyson out to Holt at shortstop. He's out. Dyson scored the Royals' run on Infante's sac fly in the third inning. Mentioned it last night. At one point over the course of 11 seasons, they had 794 consecutive sellouts. And if you include the postseason, it was well over 800. And that ended last year. But they still pile up the sellouts here. We had one last night, 37,743. Fenway Park, built in 1910. Plenty of communication there, and it drops.
How about that? Brock Holt, he totally backed off. I mean, he ran back to shortstop, and Gomes, he looked like he was going to catch it, but all of a sudden he just laid off of it himself. I can't believe that. John Farrell's like, really? Come on, fellas. This is a routine out in any level. And Gomes looked like he had it the whole way, but he just watched it fall. And that is got to be scored a hit and a double.
What a country.
Isn't it a beautiful thing? Omar Infante is living right.
It's his third double in this series. And now the Royals' hottest hitter, Eric Hosmer, with a 15-game hitting streak with a chance to drive him in. Eric singled to right in the first inning to extend the streak, and then grounded to third, and that ball is hit hard in the third inning.
You know, managers do a really nice job of containing their emotions. As we put a quick camera on John Farrell, he just kind of covered his mouth, didn't make any outward display of anger or anything like that, and you know they want to. And that's something that you learn as a manager. Players are watching the skipper. Whenever anything goes wrong, their heads snap down to the end of the dugout and they're watching the manager for any kind of reaction. The Royals have got to make this hurt.
Eric Hosmer is our MTP of the game, the most trusted player, brought to you by the most trusted dealer, your Kansas City Honda dealers.
Why not? Keep that streak alive. 15 games now. Got it taken care of in his first at-bat of the night.
And he's hitting over .430 during that streak. There's been many multi-hit games. Pickoff play to second, and that was close. Vasquez nearly picked off Alex Gordon at first base last inning and almost got Infante here.
So there's someone else in the league besides Salvi that throws behind runners. That's a perfect strike. And man, oh man, he looked like he got him.
Hurry up and make this next pitch.
Better. I mean, if they replay that, they might have seen a different result. What a throw.
De La Rosa back with his changeup. Hosmer's furious. Infante's stranded at second base. 1-1 tie.
Trip as it always is here in Boston, but for some, congratulations to the Mackensites Royals 12U baseball team, as they were participants in the tournament up there in Cooperstown, New York, and they were the fourth best team out of 104 teams. Congratulations. They went deep into the tournament. We also saw some Lee Summit teams that were there, and it's this very special opportunity to see upstate New York and to go to the Hall of Fame and see the baseball's greatest. It's a tremendous trip, and especially for those Mackensites Royals. Way to go, fellas. And the coaches. And also, Robert Moore, Dayton Moore's son, is playing for the USA in the Pan Am Games in Mexico right now. And tomorrow they're playing for the championship of the Pan Am World Series. And Robert's a second baseman, catcher. They selected him in a tryout. So there's some great baseball being played right there in the heartland of America in Kansas City, in Kansas area. Big congratulations.
Duffy gets Vasquez to begin the bottom of the 5th inning. And now Brock Holt, top of the order. So this is the beginning of the 3rd time through. Holt is grounded into a double play and lined out to right field. Don't want to pick on Brock Holt, but on the topic of Little League and teaching moments for young players, Johnny Gomes has looked bad on 2 plays in 2 innings in left field involving Brock Holt. 1-1, and we've learned from you that on the collision he made the mistake of calling for the ball instead of just waiting for the left fielder to take charge, and then last time took it too far to the other extreme. He didn't need to run into Cambridge to give Johnny Gomes room to catch the fly ball. He left too early because we assumed that Gomes never saw it and therefore didn't call for it.
Yeah, so it'll be a treat to see another one of those. See if they can make the adjustment. But you know, that happens too from a guy like Brock Holt, playing so many different positions like he has been doing. This is his 3rd start of the year at shortstop. He's been playing all the outfield positions. So in his defense, he just called it because he thought he could catch it, maybe thinking he was in the outfield.
A couple of infield pop-ups, and now 2 down in the 5th inning. All right, let's look at both of them, Bud, and give us your expert critique.
Outfielders have priority. Okay, that's the visual sign, but he's calling, he's yelling for it, and when you call for it as an infielder, you can't hear the outfielder call for it.
The only time he should call for it if there's question with another infielder, right?
Exactly. And the shortstop and second baseman have priority over the corner infielders. There's a priority system. Outfielders, corner outfielders have priority. Center field has the ultimate priority. He's the quarterback. He sees all. So when you know that pecking order, you understand when to call for it and when not to. And that's ingrained as a minor leaguer, a young player that learns the game coming up.
Let's bring in Joel.
Well, some obvious confusion there, as Hud just showed you, but the deal with Brock Holt is he has been so good, their best hitter, that they will find a spot for him in the lineup somewhere every single game. The amazing thing to me, and he's still learning these positions, and actually he said he's learned quite a bit about left field playing it here from Johnny Gomes, is the fact that this guy never played the outfield ever. Little league, high school, professional, minor leagues, big leagues, until recently when he got his first action in Detroit and then came back here, played left, and then went over to right, taking a lot of fly balls off of the monster and learning things. He said the only time that he ever played the outfield was once during college. He was home from college, and a buddy of his needed a fill-in on his slow-pitch softball team. And that's the only time that he ever ended up playing the outfield, and now he finds himself playing all 7 positions. There have been a bunch of guys that have done that over the years, including Rex Hudler back in 1990.
You know, Joel, this young guy, he's got a great future ahead of him. He can start anywhere out there, and that's an extra bonus for John Farrell and for him. His value increases. Thanks for that report, Joel. He's a good athlete.
Duffy has a 10-pitch 5th inning, and now at the end of 5, still a 1-1 tie. all-new Chrysler 200, America's import. And by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price every day. The iconic Prudential building here in Boston, which is beyond the right field corner. Royals have Salvador Perez, Alex Gordon, and Billy Butler coming up in our Sonic Slam inning. And our contestant is Bobby Sue Jackson from Overland Park. If the Royals hit a home run in this inning, Bobby Sue wins $1,100. And of course, if the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Bobby Sue wins $25,000 from Sonic and the Kansas City Royals. It'll pop up behind second base, and Holt takes the play, and a sarcastic round of applause. Fans here don't miss much.
And they analyze and dissect every single play. Believe it.
That guy right there really believes that Brock Holt can hear him.
He's a part of the game. It's beautiful. Thank you for coming, sir. Save it.
Proving once again, you can't beat fun at the old ballpark.
Never.
Ball one to Alex. He is grounded out on a great play at second base by Pedroia, and he is walked.
We talked about De La Rosa using his fastball the first time through the order predominantly, and did pretty well. He just gave up a couple of hits, a couple of walks. Now the second and third times through, he's starting to bring in his secondary pitches, especially that last time. Now it's the third time through, and he's bringing in his changeup more, and that's the first time the hitters have seen it. It's been a nice job of him hiding his secondary pitches until he has to bring him in the second and third time.
3-0. Three and one. And there's that changeup. So from 3-0 to 3-2, and he did the same thing to Escobar last inning. Escobar's convinced he had a fastball on 3-1.
That's the beauty of hiding those pitches and using them until you have to, waiting on it.
Didn't get it all the way inside, and Alex goes the other way for a one-out single.
Watch out. He's starting to get those hits to the opposite field. That's a really good sign for Alex. Waited till the last minute and shot it by Bogarts. It opens up the rest of the field when you start seeing the ball deep towards the catcher's glove. So they can get a little something going here.
Billy is singled, and he is grounded into a double play. And that's what De La Rosa is hoping for right here, a ground ball double play.
So Billy can stay inside the ball, keep his top hand from rolling over. That's what he wants.
Slider for strike one. With a fastball, and quickly it's 0-2. Well, if you're looking for signs that Billy will pick it up in the second half, just look at his career. And normally the second half, like this year, has fewer games than the first half. And all the important numbers for him spike after the All-Star break: batting average, home runs, and overall slugging percentage. And that gets away from Vasquez, so that takes away the possibility of a double play. And it puts a runner in scoring position for Billy Butler.
Just overthrew it. De La Rosa, he looks like he's going to be a nice pitcher for the Red Sox, but early in the game, and I had never seen him pitch before, and I was going on Jerry Remy, their color commentator, on his velocity and the way he pitches and everything, and thought it might be a comparable to Yordano Ventura. Not even close. Ventura is much smoother with his delivery. He throws a lot harder velocity-wise, but they do have comparable changeups. And that's a field pitch that usually you don't get until later in your career.
Unless Pedro Martinez has taught you how to throw it. Hard hit right to Bogaerts. So Alex stays put, and there are 2 down.
Yeah, interesting enough, Pedro was Yordano Ventura's hero as well.
Remember to vote for the Royals Player of the Month at rallyhouse.com/Royals, and you'll be entered to win a majestic prize pack from Rally House.
Alex might have to be careful with his secondary move. I mean, his secondary lead now with Christian Vasquez, the rookie, showing his throwing skills.
And his blocking skills. Ball 1 to Moustakas.
Neither team has gotten the big hit yet. Royals are 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position, and so are the Red Sox. They're 0 for 5.
(2-0). Moustakas is hitting .187 altogether, but in the most clutch situation, 2 outs, runners in scoring position, you can add almost 100 points to his average.
At 2-0, you're looking fastball, but De La Rosa's been throwing changeups in those situations.
Just missed inside. 3-0. You got a .187 hitter at the plate, but he has 10 home runs. So how badly do the Red Sox want to challenge Moustakas here, way ahead in the count, or start fresh with Aoki?
Good time to step out. A lot of shaking off going on there. 3-0. Take a strike.
Instead of walk, and that's 4 for De La Rosa. So whether he intended to or not, he will start fresh with Moustakas. So he goes from a hitter with 10 home runs to a hitter with no home runs. And maybe Vasquez needs to remind him that, along with pitching coach Juan Nieves, who goes out to the mound. Day game tomorrow, and speaking of Yordano Ventura, he'll pitch the final game of the series against John Lester, who is 9-7 with a 2.65 ERA and 134 strikeouts in 129 innings. And of course, there's history there. John Lester has just worn out the Royals, and threw his only career no-hitter against KC right here back in 2008. That's tomorrow at 12:35 Kansas City time, and coverage beginning at noon with Hy-Vee Royals Live.
First things first, they've got to get the job done tonight. 2 outs, looking for a big hit.
Ball 1 to Aoki, so De La Rosa's missed with 5 straight. Nori walked in the second inning and then struck out with Moustakas in scoring position in the 4th.
Base hit to right field is going to be the best case scenario to score Alex. Be tough to score him from left. Left field is really shallow. Well, it's not going to happen.
Good feed by Pedroia to De La Rosa. The Royals strand 2 in the 6th inning. They have left 7 on base. Still a 1-1 tie. Home run hit here in 1975 was filmed, or shot I should say, from that location, unless they've changed it inside the old manual scoreboard in left field. I'm talking about the Carlton Fisk home run and the memorable shot of him going up the first base line and trying to will the ball to stay fair, and it ended up hitting the foul pole. It was a camera positioned inside the wall. I don't know if it's urban legend or not, and we have a lot of veteran New Englanders part of our camera crew at Fenway Park, so maybe somebody can relay the story to our producer Joe Lavero. I have heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but a camera operator was not touching the camera as that shot was made so famous, that there was a rat inside the green monster. Okay, you're not buying it? All right. That's what I heard, that there was a rat. This comes from a good source. Inside the green monster, which shouldn't surprise anybody. I don't think you'd ever want to live inside the green monster. And that right before the ball was hit, that the cameraman backed off, but the momentum of the camera, it wasn't the live shot, it was a shot that they showed later in the game, is what just, as the camera just stayed with Carlton Fisk as he went up the line. I guess urban legend.
It's okay, I like the story.
Mike Napoli has walked, singled, and then he scored the Red Sox run in the 4th inning, which was unearned after an Escobar error. Napoli was trying to hit it over that left field foul pole. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Trying to do too much, and Duffy blew it right by him. Denny Duffy, no doubt, has emerged as one of the best starters on the Kansas City Royals. The way he's pitching, his tempo, body language, execution of his pitches, location, all of it. He's a prize that they always knew or they hoped he would become. And sometimes that doesn't always happen, but he has. And that's a good thing. It's a great thing. Former Detroit Tigers manager Jim Leyland. Every time I got near him in the last couple of years of the Royals, he would always ask, "How's that Duffy?" He loved Danny Duffy.
Well, and it rubbed off on Brad Ausmus because he won't put a left-hand batter in the lineup against Danny Duffy. Twice he's gone with an all right-handed or switch-hitting lineup. Oh. I don't think we're going to see that ball again. I don't think anybody's going to see that ball again. Mike Napoli with his 11th home run of the year, and that gives the Red Sox a 2-1 lead.
Eighth home run he's given up to a right-hander, and it was elevated. Like it's out over the middle, but it's elevated, and you don't have to get all the ball, you just can get under it.
Completely out of the stadium, through the parking lot, onto the highway, and who knows where. Johnny Gomes has singled and walked.
Sometimes you throw a nice getting you over breaking ball like that, strike one, you might just double up and do it again.
Tried to overthrow that pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
He tried it.
Into the track. He's got room. 2 down. All right, let's take you back to Game 6, 1975. Red Sox and the Reds here at Fenway Park. It's our Jeep drive of the game. So that was the live shot. Dick Stockton with the call as the ball hit the foul pole. Here was the replay and the most famous shot of Carlton Fisk. And a camera inside the Green Monster. And he hit it off the screen, the left field foul pole.
It's a great shot. Rat or no rat?
Victorino is out, so he's 1 for 3 in his first game back from the disabled list. Here's Carlton Fisk, retired number 27. Red Sox on Napoli's home run take the lead.
Club and the best dugout seats to all Royals games. Ticketsforless.com is your trusted source for all Royals tickets. And Tickets for Less is celebrating 10 years of local ownership, located on 135th Street in Southern Overland Park. Check out Ticketsforless.com for all your Royals tickets. And the Royals have some fans here on the road, and they will be back home next Thursday against the Indians.
The gentleman in the black T-shirt, guys, is Scott Davenport. He is the older brother of Jeff Davenport, who's the Royals traveling secretary and equipment manager, and that's their mother sitting next to Scott. Davy's been with the Royals for a long time. I want to say this is his 14th season, and he spent 1 year here as the bullpen catcher for the Red Sox. His mom is a huge baseball fan and never got a chance to come visit Fenway Park while Jeff was here. Davy moved on. I think he was bullpen catcher for the Cubs and a minor league hitting coach in the Royals system before joining the front office. And Scott, on a whim, said, "Jeff, I'm bringing Mom to Fenway."
Wow, special.
Eske is fly to right, fly to center, 0 for 2. Davy likes to be as inconspicuous as possible. Doesn't like it when we talk about him on the air, so that means for the rest of the season I will have hotel rooms either next to an elevator or an ice machine.
He loves it.
But it was worth it.
Yes, it was.
Remember, you can help your favorite Royals players go green by signing up for the Royals Green Team. Volunteer groups will collect recyclables around Kauffman Stadium, and in return will receive great benefits such as a t-shirt, free tickets, and recognition during some of the biggest games of the summer. And there are only a few dates still available. If you'd like to sign up, go to Royals.com/Green Team.
What a well-pitched ball game by both of these guys. A few walks, but they're making the pitches when they have to.
Red Sox have had their problems this year, but starting pitching and really overall pitching hasn't been one of them. Their starters have thrown the most innings in the league, and they also have the second most quality starts. And right behind them, the Royals with the third most quality starts. There's 3 of the starters right there from top to bottom: Clay Buchholz, John Lackey, and Jake Peavy. Crack bat right to De La Rosa. De La Rosa 1 out away from another quality start. The so-called quality start, at least 6 innings and allowing 3 earned runs or less. He's about to do it with 7 innings. Ball 1 to Infante. Only run he allowed was back in the 3rd inning. Dyson tripled. Infante got him home with a sac fly. Red Sox with an unearned run in the 4th inning, and then took the lead on Napoli's home run in the 6th. 1-1. Infante is 4 out of 7 in this series with 3 doubles, 2 runs scored, and an RBI. Two and 1. Just saw Andrew Miller warming up in the bullpen. And if Infante gets on, you've got Eric Hosmer coming up, who has a 15-game hitting streak. So it'd be safe to assume that this is, no matter what happens, De La Rosa's last hitter. Changeup. He hasn't thrown many of them. For having a really good changeup, He has saved him for very good spots, but I don't know. Has he thrown 10 tonight?
Probably just right at 10. And you're right. He's thrown them at opportune times.
Shallow right, Pedroia and Victorino makes the play. So De La Rosa does have a quality start. He's allowed 1 run in 7 innings. Stretch time at Fenway, the Red Sox lead 2-1. Thoroughbred Ford. Check out the huge selection of F-150s at thoroughbredford.com. The old State House in Boston, in addition to the great history at Fenway Park. Just one great American historical building after another, all in this area. Danny Duffy into the bottom of the 7th inning, gets the lower third of the order, and just 88 pitches. Over Duffy, and with 89 pitches, he has 1 down in the 7th inning. Remember, you can find great seats anytime, anywhere with the StubHub app. And with the StubHub app, you can pick your Royals tickets and scan your barcode right at the gate using only your mobile phone. There's no need to print from home. Maybe that's how Steve Carell got his tickets to Fenway Park tonight.
StubHub.
Jackie Bradley Jr. is 0 for 2. Left-hand batters are 0 for 7 against Duffy tonight. Make that 0 for 8. And now 8 out of 64 left-hand batters against Danny Duffy this year, with 1 extra base hit.
And he's been doing it mainly with his fastball, slurvy curveball.
A single with 1 out for Jackie Bradley Jr. He has good speed. The Royals have to keep an eye on him. So that is just the 9th hit all year for a left-hand batter against Danny Duffy. 9 hits in 65 chances against Duffy.
Inside fastball, he's sitting on it, pull it in the hole. He's 6 for 6 steals. So you're right, he might be out and running.
Vasquez has walked and popped out to third.
Coach Arnie Beeler over there at first base, he's got his work cut out for him. He knows Duffy's got that step-off move, and he's been telling every base runner over there to watch out. And if not him, watch out for the throwback from Salvi.
And then he's back with a slide step, so he's going to make it very hard on Bradley to get a good jump.
Salvi was geared up, throw to first base there.
Back to the slide step. And drilled into right center, but slicing back toward Aoki, and he makes the play. 2 down. So Duffy is 1 out away from going 7. Showed you his pitches per inning. He's only had 1 inning tonight where he has thrown 20 pitches or more. That's an accomplishment for anybody against the Boston Red Sox. A 20-pitch second inning, a 19-pitch fourth inning. So on the edge of 7 innings tonight, and he hasn't thrown 100 pitches.
And if you want to call it a mistake to Napoli, you can, but you got to credit Napoli for hitting that ball to the yard. It was a fastball that was elevated, but he should be really proud of this outing.
Duffy had really struggled, and we showed you the numbers in the first inning against the Red Sox in his first 3 career starts against them. His ERA was over 7, and breaking down the numbers, he had averaged, and we just told you, only 1 20-pitch inning tonight. He had averaged 22 pitches per inning. That was the average. So it gets back to our opening comments tonight that in the past, this was not a good matchup for Danny Duffy, but this is a new Danny Duffy. And he has carried over what he did before the All-Star break into this game against a very patient, very veteran lineup. Brock Holt, another left-hand batter, rolls it into right field for a base hit. That's his first hit, and that sends Bradley to third.
Both pitches to the left-handed batters inside, on the inside corner.
Jason Frazier, who has not made his Royals debut yet, appears to be ready in the bullpen as Justin Pedroia stands outside the batter's box. And here comes Ned Yost. You can tell Danny wants to stay in. And Ned's just buying some time, and his home plate umpire Lance Barksdale arrives asking for a decision. Ned points to Frazier. Danny Duffy. Another good outing tonight, 6 2/3, allowing just 1 earned run. And a Chevy call to the bullpen. Jason Frazier makes his Royals debut. And he comes on in a very important spot in a 1-run game late. 2 on 2 out to face Dustin Pedroia.
Yep. And what you'll see from Frazier is a fastball, slider, and a changeup. And his fastball, he'll top out about 93, anywhere from 88 to 93. They acquired him to beef up that bullpen. Danny Duffy is finished. Still has a couple runners out there that are on his docket. But I liked how Duffy, before he left, most pitchers don't say a word. They hand the ball to the skipper and they leave. He was encouraging everybody out there. Come on, let's get this game. You know, he's a real team guy.
So you get a right-hander to face Pedroia, and this is a matchup that has really favored Frazier, as Pedroia is just 2 for 14 against him in the past, and they've seen quite a bit of one another. Frazier has bounced around, but has spent most of his career with the Blue Jays, so that was in the same division as Pedroia. 1 ball and 1 strike.
He's the all-time Blue Jays leader in appearances on the mound with 505. Quite a nice long run for them.
On the ground to Escobar. The Royals get the out at second base. Frazier gets the job done. And we head to the 8th inning in a 2-1 game.
There goes. Now the Royals trying to get some damage done here. Panera takes us around the league. Told you about Cleveland winning, and they are leading in the second game of that doubleheader. White Sox on top of Houston right now at U.S. Cellular. Tampa Bay 5-0 over Minnesota. Sean Rodriguez leading the way. Our Mazda game break shows us Connor Gillespie, the native of Nebraska, knocking in the run. Royals will head to the White Sox to play them on the south side of Chicago on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Meanwhile, as we see Danny Duffy done for the night, saw him come up and still supporting his teammates. How about the disaster guys in Houston right now, as they failed to sign their first pick yesterday at the deadline, the first overall pick. They were really building or trying to build for something so much that Sports Illustrated labeled them as future champions. And now one of their key pieces lost, and a lot of haggling over money and a lot of finger pointing going on right now.
Hoping that first round pick, it was a lefty, would be like what Danny Duffy has turned out to be for the Royals. So stay tuned with that story. By the way, with Duffy out, and the Royals scored him 1 run in his 7 innings. Now, Duffy hasn't made enough starts to qualify among the league leaders, but if he had, he would be far and away the worst this year with run support. Jake Peavy of the Red Sox right now among qualifiers has the lowest run support, but look at that, 2.91 versus 2.76. That ball hit the side of the mound, and Miller gets Eric Hosmer. Hosmer has extended his hitting streak tonight to 15 games, and our Sprint Framley question of the night, Mike Sweeney, 24-game hitting streak. I believe it was a 25-game hitting streak, but one of those games was as a designated hitter. So as a first baseman, it was 24. And the fans, 53%, knew that that was the correct answer. At the time, it was the 3rd longest hitting streak in Royals history, behind Jose Offerman and George Brett. So George's team record hitting streak was as a 3rd baseman. Kind of a trick question there. I think a lot of fans knew that, some fans knew that George has the longest, but not as a first baseman.
Miller, he's got a live arm. He'll go mid-90s with his fastball, slider. He's got a curve and a change he'll use. Mainly fastball, slider.
Shattered bat. And Bogarts throws out Sal. Sal is 0 for 4. By the way, those hitting streaks we were talking about, George Brett, 30-game hitting streak in 1980 when he took a shot at hitting 400, and then Jose Offerman had a 27-game hitting streak in 98. Let's go back to Joel.
Seeing Danny Duffy there, and you talked about the lack of run support, and sometimes it's hard to figure it out. Other times it can make a little bit of sense. Now, in the case of tonight, you'd like to be able to think you could score more than 1 against Ruby De La Rosa, but he's had 8 runs of support in his last 6 games. Some of the starters he's gone against: Anibal Sanchez twice, Clayton Kershaw, Corey Kluber. They all gave up 1 run or less while he was in the game. They got Johan Pino for 4 with the Twins, and then De La Rosa just 1 tonight.
Well, and De La Rosa, he's no slouch. He's just allowed 3 runs or less in 4 of his 6 starts, so he's been pretty good. There you go, Joe.
Well, we were talking about what a great teammate Danny is, and a lot of pitchers would get frustrated. Here's another number: 14 starts for Danny Duffy. 10 times the Royals have scored 1 run or less. 10 of 14. You'll never hear Danny Duffy complain about that, either publicly or privately.
You know, he didn't go up in the clubhouse. He wants to pull his team on, see if they can get it, come from behind win. They've got 19 come from behind victories.
Full count to Alex. Billy Butler is on deck.
Alex 5 for 10 off of Andrew Miller in his career. 1 double, 1 homer.
Miller is out of the Red Sox bullpen. 3 up, 3 down with a strikeout. To the bottom of the 8th, Boston still leads 2-1.
Was really good tonight. He was solid. 6 2/3, 6 hits, 2 runs. 1 of those is earned. Induced a nice double play. 3 walks, a couple of strikeouts. Frustrated Big Papi. Nice job.
Wade Davis doesn't normally come on with the Royals down late in the game, but Ned Yost wants to hold the Red Sox right here. And David Ortiz, Mike Napoli, and Johnny Gomes are coming up. Wade Davis has allowed 1 run over his last 27 outings, not his last 27 innings, last 27 outings, giving him an ERA of 0.31. And he has good numbers against David Ortiz. Ortiz is 0 for 3 so far tonight.
Firm fastball. Mid to upper 90s. He cuts that fastball. And he's got a nice little overhand breaker.
That was a swing. He didn't mean to. And it's 0-2.
That was that cutter. Ball took off.
Koji Uehara getting ready for the 9th inning. Royals will have Butler, Moustakas, and Aoki. That's out of play. Royals scored first. Infante's sac fly gave the Royals a 1-0 lead in the third. Red Sox scored an unearned run in the fourth inning on an Escobar error. And then Mike Napoli hit a solo home run in the sixth that put Boston in front 2-1. That was a wicked swing. That got the home plate umpire Lance Barksdale. Might have gotten both Salvador Perez and Lance Barksdale.
Talking about where that got it. It glanced off his mask and right over it. Hit it left shoulder. Barksdale didn't even flinch.
Just low. And now full count with Napoli next. Second time that Moustakas has handled a ground ball on the right side of the infield. And the second time he's done it against Ortiz. David Ortiz is 0 for 4. And as promised earlier, we have the AT&T fan photo of the game from Jason. Might be from here. Royals and Red Sox fans getting along, at least for that picture. So thank you, Jason, for sending in tonight's AT&T fan photo. Mike Napoli has been on 3 times. He has scored both runs. Escobar picks it off up the middle. Napoli's out for the first time. 2 down in the 8th. And now Davis gets Johnny Gomes. Former Tampa Bay Rays, but not at the same time. They missed each other by 1 year. Gomes last year in Tampa Bay was 08, and Davis's first year was 09. Gomes goes back to the old Devil Rays days.
Gomes is looking in one spot, middle in. Got it there, couldn't get it.
Gomes has only faced Davis once, and Wade struck him out. That slider. 1-2. Right down the middle of the plate.
Man.
Drilled to left field. Alex is there, and that's the inning. Royals down by 1. They'll try and get Uehara tonight. He saved the game last night. Butler, Moustakas, Aoki come City Royals. They may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts or descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation. Ryan Lefevre, Rex Hudler, Joel Goldberg, Jeff Montgomery, with producer Joe Lavero, director Steve Kurtenbach, associate producers Al Broughton, Sam Abramson, Dave Holtzman, and the producer of Royals Live is Brian Shapiro, and Steve Carell.
That's right.
Who has a Royals jersey on underneath that Red Sox zip down sweatshirt. Maybe not.
Yeah, his wife's got royal blue on. He's due. Left-handers are hitting 145 with 4 homers. Righties 222 with 2 homers. So he has given up 6 home runs. What we saw last night is not an overpowering fastball. We saw 88 to 92. Slider and some split fingers. But a lot of fastballs. He challenged guys.
Billy is homered against Uehara. He did not face Uehara last night. And Billy takes ball 1. Omar Infante in a 1-run game hit a 2-run double, or a 2-out double I should say, against Uehara in the 9th inning, but then Eric Hosmer grounded out to end the game. And now 2 balls and no strikes. Took enough off, and Billy hits it out to Victorino, 1 down. Coming up after the game, Boulevard Royals Live with Joel and Monty. We'll hear from Royals manager Ned Yost. Another reaction from the Royals clubhouse, highlights and analysis. Boulevard Royals Live with Joel Goldberg and Jeff Montgomery. Mike Moustakas is 0 for 2 with a walk. At the outside, it's 78 miles an hour.
He's a finesse righty for a closer. You don't see a lot of that, but he has the ability to change speeds on all of his pitches. That's what makes him so effective. Split finger.
We've seen Moustakas hit guys like this. Fastball upper 80s, changeup, splitter type pitchers.
It's got Lorenzo Cain on the bench to pinch run if he needs it.
Back with the splitter and a strikeout, 2 down in the 9th inning. You mentioned Cain's available, but Ned is going to go with Raul Ibanez instead of Nori Aoki. More times than not, it's a home run that will hurt a closer. Closers rarely have innings, and especially the elite closers where they give up 3-4 hits in an inning. You got to hope for a single, maybe a walk, and a blast. And remember, it was Raul Ibanez last year who ended Greg Holland's streak of consecutive saves with a home run at Kauffman Stadium while he was playing with the Mariners. And Raul, after the first pitch, no balls and 1 strike.
He's 0 for 1 in his career against Uehara.
Red Sox did not begin last year with Uehara as their closer, but they certainly finished in winning the World Series. And Raul grounds it up the middle. Holt with a jump throw to end the game. So the Boston Red Sox have now won 6 of their last 7 games. They didn't do it with offense tonight like they have during that stretch. Tonight it was pitching. Ruby De La Rosa, Andrew Miller, and Koji Uehara